Let me ask you something uncomfortable. You have a college degree. Maybe a graduate degree. You earn a respectable income. You read. You think critically. You probably spend more time researching a laptop purchase than you've ever spent optimizing the financial system that runs your entire life. That's not an insult. That's a diagnosis, and it applies to the overwhelming majority of high-earning professionals in the world today. Here's the paradox that Ramit Sethi identified over 2 decades ago, and it still holds with brutal precision: the people who need personal finance the least are the ones actually reading about it. Meanwhile, the people who need it most, young professionals, early career earners, ambitious strivers, are drowning in vague advice like, cut your lattes, and, invest in your future, with zero operational detail on how any of that actually works. Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, is not another personal finance book dressed in motivational language. It is a 6-week implementation manual. It is opinionated, it is blunt, and it treats you like an adult who can handle the truth that no one else in the financial industry has an incentive to tell you. If you've been meaning to get your finances in order for the last 3 years, this is the video that ends that procrastination today. Let's get into it. Before we break down the chapters, you need to understand the philosophical spine of this book, because it reframes everything. Most personal finance content operates on the assumption that you have a knowledge problem. You don't know what a Roth IRA is. You don't understand compound interest. Once you know these things, the thinking goes, you'll act. Sethi's diagnosis is completely different. He argues that the primary obstacle isn't knowledge, it's systems and psychology. His central thesis can be summarized in one sentence: spend extravagantly on the things you love, and cut ruthlessly on the things you don't, but automate everything in between so that wealth building happens whether or not you feel like thinking about money today. This is a radical reframe. He is not asking you to be frugal. He is not asking you to sacrifice your lifestyle. He is asking you to be intentional, and then to remove yourself from the equation by building automated systems that do the work while you focus on living. He calls this a rich life, and critically, he insists your rich life is yours to define. For one person, it's traveling business class twice a year. For another, it's never worrying about a restaurant bill with friends. The point is not the destination, it's building the infrastructure to get there without willpower being the bottleneck. Now let's walk through every major section of the book. Chapter 1: Optimize your credit cards. The counterintuitive starting point. Most financial advisors will tell you to cut up your credit cards. Sethi opens the book by telling you to use them more strategically. His argument is airtight: credit cards, when used correctly, are one of the only financial instruments that reward you for money you were already going to spend. Cash back, travel points, purchase protection, extended warranties, these are real, tangible benefits that most people leave on the table because of an emotional aversion to credit. The problem is never credit cards. The problem is consumer behavior. And for a professional who already has their spending under control, optimizing credit cards is the highest leverage, lowest effort financial move available. The key framework Sethi introduces here. 1. Your credit score is infrastructure. Your credit score is not just a number. It determines your mortgage rate, your car loan terms, your apartment applications, and in some industries, your employment prospects. A difference of 50 points on a credit score can cost or save you tens of thousands of dollars over the life of a loan. This is not abstract, it is arithmetic. To build and maintain an excellent score, Sethi outlines 5 factors the score is built on. Payment history, 35%, pay on time, every time, automatically. Credit utilization, 30%, keep it below 10% ideally, never above 30%. Length of credit history, 15%, don't close old accounts. New credit inquiries, 10%, don't apply for new cards frivolously. Credit mix, 10%, a variety of account types helps. 2. Negotiate your fees, yes, actually call them. Sethi includes a script, a literal word-for-word script, for calling your credit card company and negotiating away annual fees and getting late fees waived. The call takes 4 minutes. The success rate, for customers in good standing, is remarkably high. This is the kind of high-value, low-frequency task that most people never do because it feels awkward. Sethi makes it a procedure. 3. Card selection is strategic. He recommends choosing 1 to 2 credit cards that align with your actual spending patterns. If you travel frequently, a travel rewards card. If you want simplicity, a flat cashback card. The goal is optimization without complexity, because complexity breeds inaction. Chapter 2: Beat the Banks. Building the right banking infrastructure. This chapter is where Sethi begins constructing the plumbing of the financial system that will help you to build. And the central message is one that financial institutions spend billions of dollars hoping you never hear. Most traditional bank accounts are engineered to extract money from you, not grow it for you. The average savings account at a major retail bank offers interest rates that are, in many periods, effectively zero, sometimes as low as 0.01%. Meanwhile, high-yield savings accounts, which are widely available through online banks, have historically offered rates 20 to 50 times higher. The difference in annual return on a $30,000 emergency fund at 0.01% versus 5% is not a rounding error. It is real money, and it is yours to claim with a single account opening. The banking setup Sethi recommends. He advocates for a simple 2-bank structure. A no-fee checking account at a large, convenient bank or credit union for your day-to-day transactions, direct deposit, bill payments, debit card use. A high-yield savings account at an online bank for your savings goals, emergency fund, short-term goals, money you're not investing yet. This account should be slightly inconvenient to access, which is a feature, not a bug. The 2 to 3 day transfer delay prevents impulse withdrawals. Automation is the architecture. Sethi introduces a concept here that runs through the entire book: the automation of money flows. He wants your paycheck to arrive, and then for money to move to the right places automatically, to investments, to savings, to bills, before you ever have the opportunity to spend it on something unintentional. He also makes an important point about fees: overdraft fees, minimum balance fees, monthly maintenance fees. These are all negotiable or avoidable. He provides frameworks for evaluating your current banking relationships and making switches without the anxiety most people feel about changing banks. Chapter 3: Get Ready to Invest. The Investment Ladder, a Framework of Prioritization. This is the chapter where most financial content loses its audience by becoming either too simple, just invest, or too complex. Let me explain the difference between a simple IRA and SEP. Sethi threads the needle by introducing what he calls the investment ladder, a priority-ordered sequence for deploying your capital that maximizes tax advantages before anything else. Here is the ladder, from highest to lowest priority. Rung 1, Employer 401k Match. If your employer matches contributions to your 401k, which most do, up to a certain percentage, you contribute at least enough to capture that full match. Period. This is an immediate 50 to 100% return on your money. There is no other legal investment that offers this. Walking past this is the financial equivalent of declining a salary increase. Rung 2, Pay off high-interest debt. Any debt with an interest rate above roughly 6 to 7% should be eliminated before you invest beyond the employer match. A 20% APR credit card balance that you're carrying is destroying wealth faster than almost any investment can create it. The math is not emotional. It is arithmetic. Rung 3, Open a Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is one of the most powerful wealth-building instruments available to people who qualify based on income. You contribute after-tax dollars, your money grows tax-free, and you pay zero taxes on withdrawal in retirement. For a 30-year-old professional putting $7,000 per year into a Roth IRA that grows at a historical market average, the tax-free compounding over 30 to 35 years is transformative. Sethi strongly recommends Roth over traditional for most young and mid-career professionals, because you are likely in a lower tax bracket now than you will be in retirement, especially if you are building wealth aggressively. Rung 4. Max out the 401k. After the Roth IRA is funded, return to your 401k and contribute the maximum allowable amount. The contribution limit changes annually, so check the current IRS limit. The tax deferral, meaning you invest pre-tax dollars and pay taxes only upon withdrawal, compounds powerfully over decades. Rung 5. Taxable brokerage accounts. Once you've maximized all tax-advantaged accounts, additional investment goes into a standard taxable brokerage account. Here you invest in index funds, ETFs, or other instruments with the understanding that capital gains will be taxable. The critical insight on fees. Sethi is relentless on this point, and it deserves its own emphasis. Fund expense ratios, the annual fees charged by mutual funds and ETFs, have an outsized impact on long-term wealth. A fund charging 1% annually versus 0.05% may seem like a trivial difference. Over 30 years on a substantial portfolio, it can represent hundreds of thousands of dollars. He advocates for low-cost index funds, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, with near-zero expense ratios, managed passively. Chapter 4. Conscious Spending. The budget that isn't a budget. This is arguably the most intellectually sophisticated chapter in the book, because Sethi dismantles the conventional budgeting model and replaces it with something far more psychologically durable. Traditional budgeting asks you to track every dollar, categorize every expense, and restrict your spending according to a rigid plan. Sethi argues this model fails for most people not because they lack discipline, but because it is designed without any respect for human psychology. Tracking and restricting creates deprivation, and deprivation triggers backlash spending. His alternative is the conscious spending plan. The framework allocates your take-home income across 4 categories, not with precision, but with intention. 1. Fixed costs, 50 to 60%. Rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, loan payments, subscriptions. These are your non-negotiables. If this number exceeds 60%, you have a structural problem that requires a structural solution, renegotiating rent, refinancing debt, or increasing income, not a budgeting tweak. 2. Investments, 10%. This is taken off the top, automatically, before discretionary spending. Sethi is firm, investments are not optional and not something you do with what's left. They are a fixed line item, treated with the same non-negotiability as rent. 3. Savings goals, 5 to 10%. Targeted savings for known future expenses, vacations, a car, a wedding, an emergency fund. Each goal should have a dedicated sub-account with automatic monthly transfers. 4. Guilt-free spending, 20 to 35%. This is the number that surprises people and makes the entire system sustainable. After investments and savings are funded and fixed costs are covered, the remaining money is yours to spend on whatever you want, without guilt, without tracking, without justification. Sethi's argument is that most people spend guiltily on discretionary purchases because they haven't earned the right to spend freely. His system earns that right structurally. If your plan is funded, your spending is moral. The concept of money dials, in later editions of the book, Sethi introduces the concept of money dials, the categories of spending that, when turned up, dramatically increase your quality of life versus categories where more spending produces diminishing returns. His examples include convenience, travel, health, relationships, and generosity. Knowing your personal money dials allows you to allocate guilt-free spending with intention rather than defaulting to cultural norms. Chapter 5: Save While Sleeping. The Automation Architecture. This is the chapter that operationalizes everything. Sethi provides a concrete, step-by-step system for automating the movement of money so that your financial plan executes itself, with no willpower, no monthly review, no anxiety. The system is built around what he calls the automatic money flow, and it works like this. Step 1. your paycheck hits your checking account. Step 2. Automatic transfers fire on the same day or the day after. A fixed dollar amount moves to your high-yield savings account. A fixed dollar amount, or percentage, moves to your Roth IRA. Your 401k contribution is already handled via payroll deduction before you see the money. Step 3. Fixed bills are paid automatically. Your rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance, and subscriptions are all set to auto-pay from checking. You never manually pay a bill. You never incur a late fee. Step 4. Your credit card is auto-paid in full, every month. Not the minimum. The full balance. Automatically. This single setup eliminates interest charges permanently and protects your credit score. Step 5. What remains is guilt-free spending. You can spend this money on anything, at any time, without checking a spreadsheet or feeling shame. Sethi is explicit that this system, once built, requires approximately 1 hour per month to monitor, not manage. You check that transfers executed, balances look right, and nothing unusual occurred. That's it. The deeper insight here is about decision fatigue. Every financial decision you make manually depletes cognitive resources. By automating the infrastructure, you reserve your mental energy for high-value decisions, career moves, business opportunities, investment strategy, while the machine handles the routine execution. Chapter 6. The Myth of Financial Expertise. Why you don't need a financial advisor, and why most of them don't want you to know that. This chapter is where Sethi becomes genuinely provocative, and where his argument is most important for a professional audience to hear clearly. The financial services industry is not designed to make you rich. It is designed to generate fees. This is not a conspiracy theory, it is the structural incentive embedded in most advisor compensation models. A financial advisor who earns commission on the products they sell has a direct financial incentive to sell you the products with the highest commission, not the products most suited to your needs. The fiduciary standard. Sethi explains the difference between a fiduciary advisor, legally required to act in your best interest, and a broker or commission-based advisor who operates under the weaker suitability standard, meaning they need only recommend products that are suitable for your situation, not necessarily optimal. Most people don't know this distinction exists. The industry counts on that. Active management versus index funds, the data. Sethi presents the research with clarity. The overwhelming majority of actively managed funds underperform their benchmark index over 10+ year periods, especially after fees. The reason is mathematical. Markets are relatively efficient. Information is widely available. Generating consistent alpha, returns above the market, requires skill so rare that even well-resourced professional fund managers fail to sustain it over time. The implication is simple. The average investor is better served by low-cost index funds that capture market returns than by paying premium fees for active management that is statistically unlikely to outperform. Automation over timing. Sethi also dismantles market timing, the belief that you can predict market movements and buy or sell accordingly. The data on this is unambiguous. Missing even the 10 best days in the market over a 20-year period dramatically reduces total returns. The optimal strategy for most investors is consistent, automatic investing regardless of market conditions, a practice called dollar-cost averaging. When you might actually need an advisor. Sethi is not absolutist. He acknowledges that certain life events, receiving an inheritance, selling a business, approaching retirement with complex tax situations, may warrant professional guidance. His recommendation is to seek a fee-only fiduciary advisor who charges a flat fee or hourly rate rather than commission on products. The National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, NAPFA, is one directory he references. Chapter 7. Investing isn't only for rich people. Getting started with whatever you have. This chapter addresses the psychological barrier that stops more wealth accumulation than any tax law or market condition, the belief that you don't have enough to start investing. Sethi's response is direct: start with whatever you have. The mathematical power of compound growth is not activated by a minimum balance. It is activated by time. Every month you delay is a month of compounding you can never recapture. The life cycle fund solution for investors who feel paralyzed by asset allocation decisions, how much in stocks versus bonds, domestic versus international, large cap versus small cap, Sethi offers a single, elegant solution: target date retirement funds, also called lifecycle funds. These funds, offered by Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab, automatically adjust their asset allocation as you approach your target retirement year. When you're 30, the fund holds a high proportion of equities for growth. As you approach 65, it gradually shifts toward bonds for stability. You choose one fund, set your automatic contributions, and the fund manages diversification on your behalf. For most working professionals who want their money working efficiently without becoming portfolio managers in their spare time, this is the ideal solution. The power of automation plus time, a concrete example. Consider two investors. Investor A starts at 25, invests $500 per month until age 35, then stops. Total invested, $60,000. Investor B starts at 35, invests $500 per month until age 65. Total invested, $180,000. Assuming a 7% average annual return. Investor A at 65, approximately $602,000. Investor B at 65, approximately $567,000. Investor A invested less money and ended up with more. That is compound interest. That is time in the market. And that is why Sethi is so insistent that starting matters more than the amount. Chapter 8. Easy Maintenance. How to run your financial life in an hour per month. The final chapter of the book is about sustainability, building a system that runs for decades, not weeks. Sethi outlines a maintenance protocol. Monthly, 30 to 60 minutes. Confirm automatic transfers executed correctly. Review credit card statements for unauthorized charges. Check balances across accounts. No spending review required. That's handled by the conscious spending plan. Annually, 2 to 3 hours. Rebalance your investment portfolio if necessary, though target date funds do this automatically. Review your conscious spending plan allocations. Do they still reflect your priorities? Check your credit report for errors. You're entitled to free reports from all 3 bureaus annually. Evaluate your insurance coverage, life, disability, health, renters/homeowners. Review beneficiary designations on retirement accounts. These override your will. When life changes, marriage, children, a major income change, inheritance, or approaching retirement all trigger a more thorough financial review. Sethi recommends building a relationship with a fee-only fiduciary advisor before these moments arrive so you're not making high-stakes decisions under pressure. The overarching message of this chapter, and of the book, is that personal finance does not need to be a hobby. It does not require daily attention, emotional energy, or obsessive monitoring. It requires a well-designed system, built once, monitored occasionally, and adjusted infrequently. The psychological layer. What Sethi gets right that others miss. Before we close, it's worth stepping back and appreciating why this book works when so many others don't. Sethi is a behavioral economist at heart. He understands that the gap between knowing and doing is not filled by more information, it's filled by system design that makes the right behavior the default behavior. He calls out several psychological traps with precision. Paralysis by analysis, the tendency to delay action while seeking more information. Sethi's antidote is explicit. An imperfect financial plan that is implemented today is worth infinitely more than a perfect plan implemented never. Financial avoidance, the emotional discomfort that causes intelligent people to not open their 401k statements, not check their account balances, not confront their debt. He normalizes this avoidance without accepting it as permanent, and builds systems that function whether or not you are emotionally engaged. The myth of the right time, markets are too high. The economy looks uncertain. I'll invest once things settle down. Sethi exposes this thinking as a perennial rationalization. The right time to invest was yesterday. The second best time is today. Social comparison, lifestyle inflation triggered by peer spending. Sethi's rich life framework, defining wealth on your own terms, is a deliberate inoculation against this. The big takeaways: what to do next. If you do nothing else after watching this video, do these 5 things in the next 7 days. 1. Open a high-yield savings account. If you don't already have one, open one today. It takes 15 minutes. Move your emergency fund there. 2. Confirm you are capturing your full employer 401k match. Log into your HR portal this week. If you're leaving any match on the table, increase your contribution percentage immediately. 3. Open a Roth IRA if you haven't. Vanguard, Fidelity, and Schwab all have zero minimum Roth IRA accounts. Open one. You can fund it with $50. 4. Set up one automatic transfer. Even $100 per month to savings or your Roth IRA. Start the automation. The amount is secondary to the behavior. 5. Pull your credit score. Know where you stand. If it's below 720, identify the one factor dragging it down and address it specifically. Here is the uncomfortable truth that Ramit Sethi leaves you with, and that I'll leave you with now. The financial system is not broken. For most high-income professionals, the tools exist, the accounts are available, the index funds are accessible, and the automation is possible. What's missing is not opportunity. What's missing is the decision to build the system, and the willingness to accept that personal finance does not have to be complicated to be effective. The people who will build significant wealth over the next 20 years are not the ones who pick the best stocks or time the market perfectly. They are the ones who build boring, automated, intentional financial systems, and then spend their energy on their careers, their relationships, their businesses, and their lives. I Will Teach You to Be Rich is not a perfect book. Sethi is occasionally glib, occasionally repetitive, and the early editions aged in places where financial products changed. But the architecture, the investment ladder, the conscious spending plan, the automation system, the rich life philosophy, is as sound today as it was when the book first published. If this video helped you see your finances differently, subscribe to this channel. We break down the most important books in personal finance, behavioral economics, and wealth psychology with this level of depth every single week. Drop a comment below. What is the one change from this video you're committing to this week? Write it down. Public commitment dramatically increases follow-through.